Hello everyone, Moran McKay here, and welcome back to part 4 of Viconia DeVir in Skyrim.
Yes. What is it, my Miranda sins?
What is the Underdark like?
It is difficult to describe. The Underdark is a place of great evil and danger, but also of beauty and wonder. Would you like me to tell you of it?
Sure.
Drow isn't elegant when discussing beauty, but has 70 words for cruel. Few of my sisters prize the sights of our dark world, but I ache for them. The underseas of Lara Track, for example, defies words. To sail across takes 2 days Luent to Linoin, east to west. It takes 3 days from Trazen to Wearnith, north to south. Massive stalactites shimmer overhead. As you sail, a bleak, dead world flows underneath. The playground of blind fish and fallen deities. I remember also the crystal spires of Ustlat, a principle of architecture. Living crystal pruned and guarded with gems in a master jeweler's care. But these images pale before memories of the Spider Queen and the worship I began so young. Beauty is difficult to find in the blood that I let flow. Let's discuss this later. I've said enough for now.
Trouble?
We do keep pleasant company, my darling.
The finest jewelry
I am
in
ready
all
to
of
continue
Markarth.
my tale,
You there, pretty
if you
thing.
wish to hear it.
You need some fresh meat for your family?
Sure,
Just
go
look at
ahead.
the blood coming from this cut.
I was but a child when it began. I was taken away, brought to the temple, and attended to by priestesses. They took me to Erlengen.
How else will you know it's
What's
fresh?
that?
I don't need to know
It is
if
an
it's fresh
altar
from
of
this distance.
sacrifice, where Surfacer screamed in agony. For the pleasure of Loth, I was given a spider dagger to end his life. The human was but Kulgabus to me, but it felt wrong. His tears ran freely as he begged for mercy
Want a cut of
in his
innocent muffin?
unfamiliar
Of
tongue.
course you do.
The matron mothers were there to judge. Obedience was required. Hesitation was death. It must be done, and in a manner that would please Loth. He screamed as the blade entered, and spit blood when I punctured his lungs. To the delight of the matron mothers, I pulled his heart, still beating. It is the Drow way. But that is behind me now. Let us continue our travels. My brother is what finally made me break my faith fully from the Spider Queen. His actions, I mean. Saving me from sacrifice.
Oh yes, please continue.
I had begun to question Loth's appetite for power, but I did not cast her out of my heart until Valis saved my life. Valis used his magic to free me, and when my mother became enraged and tried to stop him, he killed her. Loth did what she does to all males who defy her. She transformed him into a dritter, half drow and half spider.
That's horrible.
I cursed Loth's name for what she had done. I renounced her with every fiber of my being, and she was not pleased. She abandoned me. I had no brother, no power, and House DeVir was falling. I was forced to flee the Underdark, cursing and crying the entire way.
That must have been difficult.
Yes, it was. When I made it to the surface, my hardships were not over as I described. It is so much nicer here. Would you like to hear another tale of my past?
Sure?
After I'd been on the surface for some time, I finally met someone worthy of my attention. He saved me from being burnt at the stake by some townspeople in Ammon. I had briefly met him before. He was involved in the Baal crisis. Baal was the god of murder, and he was one of Baal's many sons.
A son of the god of a god of murder?
Yes, but he was inherently good, not evil. He saved me from the idiots in Alkatia, and I joined his party, following him for a time. Our adventures were very successful. He fought a powerful evil mage named John Ironicus, literally to hell and back, eventually defeating him not once but twice, and it wasn't easy.
Saying you went to hell and came back? Like our Oblivion?
Yes, after being killed the first time, we were dragged there with Ironicus, because he had my friend's soul. We defeated him again, and we were released. During all this time, I began to fall in love. But my fear of Loth eventually overcame it. Because of what we did, the surface elves even accepted me, something that has never happened before or since. We all became very rich, but several months after that, I was pulled into this plane, and here I am. Anyway, enough tales for now. If you would please sit with me for a moment before you retire, I would be thankful. I find myself uncharacteristically overcome with anxiety, and I'm not eager to be alone to the evening.
What's wrong? You're shaking.
I've been thinking of Loth. She was cruel, not known for forgiveness. I'm thankful she is gone, but something is still Veko. Strange.
Loth is dead? How did this happen?
When I first came to this world, it opened up Menvison, pass between the planes. I did not know this at first. It became apparent when Loth appeared. She came for me. My former husband and I defeated her, for she was in a weakened state. She granted him a spell and left us.
What happened to her?
She went back to her old plane where she gathered power. She wanted her revenge. She wanted my blood to flow, for me to die slow and painfully. I dreamt of my brother Valis many times. I would try and speak to him, but he was only a monster. Then, he began speaking to me in my dreams. He told me of the pathways between the planes, and how to find it. It was then that I knew we had to rescue him. It was not easy, but we did it.
What happened to him?
After reaching the highest levels in the Mages Guild, he left Cyrodiil, and now explores this world. Off adventuring as you do, I suppose. I'm sure you will meet him someday. And my daughter as well.
You have a daughter?
Yes, but let's not speak of that now. Onward, my Mirandisons. Do you wish to hear about some of the other denizens of the Underdark?
Sure. Tell me of the creatures of your home.
There are the Illithids. Some call them Mind Flayers. They have an empire as great as the Drow. Negotiation is difficult because of their psionics. Their eyes are blank, unthinking. They have 4 tentacles that dangle and twitch over a lamprey's mouth. Their main goal is dominance over others. They delight in casting a spell on you to paralyze your body, then cracking open your skull and drinking everything inside it. There's also the Kuatoa, a race of fishmen, cold, horrid creatures, driven underground ages ago. The first sign of them is the reek of dead fish.
I hope to never see those creatures.
Thanks to the pathways closing, in this plane, it is unlikely. Who do you side with in the battle between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks?
I am for a free Skyrim. I support the Stormcloaks.
A fair point, I suppose. I think both sides are short-sighted.
What do you mean?
How can someone properly rule a land from so far away? And these high elves of yours, they are nothing like the ones where I came from. They seem evil to me, not as evil as the Drow. They would crumble under the might of the Drow. The Empire simply withered against them. It was such a pathetic display. Anyway, isn't it better to leave a country for itself and open up a partnership instead?
I suppose so.
That said, Ulfric seems like a good enough leader, though he is quite handsome. There is an appeal to a man doing what he wants and standing up for his convictions.
I'm starting to think you daydream about him.
Certainly not. Don't worry, dear. He could never take your place. Are you aware that despite our intimacies, I know little of you other than the usual graces? You have mysteries in you, and secrets. That face holds tales in its creases.
There's not much to tell, to be honest.
What about your time before this? Before the endless travel, days in the dark, and death at your heels? Who was your closest ally?
I never had one.
Well, you do now, don't you, my Mirandasins? Have you given any thought to what you will do once this whole business is over with?
I just want to be with you.
You flatter me. I hope those are not just empty words you are spilling for my benefit. I have thought of the future.
And what of that future?
I see us carving out an empire for ourselves and living in luxury. It is little more than idle fantasy, really. It is good to see that you have desire. Perhaps that is something I can work on. No? We are to stop and rest now, are we? I suppose it is good. And well, I am exhausted nearly to the point of dropping.
Let's find a camp then.
Come then, my Mirandasins.
Are you tired?
I may be tired, but I look forward to showing the arts I learned as a drow. I hold a degree of affection for you. How else to show it?
Nothing is expected of you.
An odd thing to say. If I had no male to service me in the Underdark, I slept alone. I am unfamiliar with this. How else would you show affection?
I will show you.
As you wish. I feel uncomfortable with this arrangement, but I suppose that rest is not uncalled for. Is it time to awaken already?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
I must admit that I slept more deeply than I have in some time. I felt safe in your arms. A unique experience.
That feeling is called love.
I have to think about this. Love. I thank you for your consideration. I have an odd feeling. I have felt this before.
What kind of feeling?
The same feeling I had when Loth came to me here in this plane. As drow, we grow to have a natural tendency to feel rock and magic. And this feels of both. It is a dark whisper traveling over the land, searching, seeking out. I fear it is looking for me.
What makes you think this?
This has happened before. It has the stink of Loth, but she is dead.
I'm here to protect you, Viconia.
A somewhat comforting thought, but she is dead. My first Mirandasins and I killed her years ago, during the Oblivion Crisis.
You've been alive that long?
Yes, drow can live extremely long lives, if we're not subjected to the harsh life of the Underdark. I was there for the Oblivion Crisis. All of it. We do keep pleasant company, my darling. must talk.
Sure.
I want to thank you for helping me with everything. I feared that I would never find anyone ever again.
No need. I'd do anything for you.
I thought it would never work between us. I think you knew this. It seemed there could only be one outcome to it all. I look forward to a life with you. Perhaps we will be a good thing, you and I, yes?
Yes, I could think of nothing else. The two of you embrace in a long, passionate kiss that seems to last for hours. What's so funny?
It is a joke I came up with after we saw that ranger in the woods the other day. Do you wish to hear it?
Sure.
If a tree falls in the forest, does anybody care?
Okay.
I'm still unused to all this green and fragrant brightness. Part of me yet looks for the hidden spider's web amongst all this.
You'll get used to it, eventually.
I suppose I will, though I am drow, and it may be a very long time indeed.
But you've been here for 200 years.
It has gotten easier over the years. But 200 years to a drow is merely a drop in an ocean. The lives of elves and men differ greatly. A day to you is very special, yet brief. But to us, they are merely a second in time.
For the past 24 hours, you've been playing a little game of hard to get with Viconia, and she's clearly perturbed by it, and finally, she can take no more. What is it?
Untold pleasures await you, if you would but submit to me.
Let me think about it. Okay.
I must have you.
Viconia grabs you by the shoulders, slamming you to the ground. She jumps on top of you in a fit of pure lust.
You will submit to me.
She kisses you in a passionate rage you've never seen before. Wait, hold on. Viconia rips your clothing off, and she proceeds to show you the drow arts of pleasure. It's too bad they can't show an animation for at least some of that. It'd be kinda cool. Just saying.